Good evening. This most unusual and important race for the White House at the finish line. Votes being counted, polls starting to close, and our special coverage starts right now.
This is an ABC News special. The time is now. The day is here.
It's a choice between a Trump super recovery and a Biden depression.
I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I will govern as an American president.
Live from New York City and across the country, Election Night 2020. Now reporting, Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
Welcome to what may be a long election night, capping a very long election year. We have never lived through a campaign quite like this. A campaign defined by a raging pandemic that has claimed more than 230,000 American lives, caused economic upheaval costing nearly 20 million Americans their jobs, amid racial unrest, protests in the streets of America's cities. It is an anxious, unsettling time. And through it all, America is voting like never before. When the polls opened this morning, more than 100 million of us had already cast our ballots, an astonishing display of citizenship. For the first time ever, more Americans will vote before Election Day than on the day itself. As you can see, people are still voting in much of the country. The lines have been long all through the day. The process has been mostly peaceful, and when all the ballots are counted, more than 150 million Americans will have voted, shattering all previous records. You all know the stakes are high. We do too. I'm here with our political team at ABC Election Headquarters. We have correspondents staked out across the country, at the White House with the President, in Delaware with Joe Biden, and at ABC's Ballot Watch station, where our legal team is focused on what's happening as the final votes are cast and the first ballots are counted. Now, that counting could take some time this year, and that is okay. Not knowing the outcome tonight does not mean the process is broken. It does not mean the election is unfair. What's most important is that every citizen who casts a valid vote gets that vote counted, however long it takes. We're committed to being with you every step of the way. We'll tell you what we know, what we don't know. Straightforward reporting, fact-based analysis on the most consequential election of our lives. The polls have just closed in 6 states. Here's what we know right now. We cannot project any states right now. In the state of Indiana, the vote just coming in. Vote coming in also in the state of Georgia. That has become a battleground in recent days. Donald Trump won it 4 years ago. It is a tight race right now. State of Virginia has been trending blue over the last 3 presidential elections. We do not have enough votes to project that right now. State of South Carolina, a red state, home of Lindsey Graham, close ally of President Trump in the Senate. Again, we cannot project that state yet, nor can we project the state of Kentucky, home of the Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, or the state of Vermont, strong Democratic state, of course, home to Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden beat him in the primaries. We cannot call it yet. We do have information coming in from exit polls of our voters. David Muir here with that.
And we should point out, George, tonight that as we make our way through the night, that these are exit polls, but we might want to call them voter polls this year because they're exits from today, people in line today to vote, but also early in-person voting and telephone polling with those who sent in mail-in ballots, absentee ballots. What we're going to be looking at over the course of the night are these starkly different closing arguments, right? From Donald Trump saying we're turning the corner on the virus to Joe Biden saying I can't flip a switch and get rid of it, but we have to control it before we can recover the economy and unite the country. And so these are the first indications of where the voters stand tonight. Let's first look at the overall job performance. This is not just handling of the pandemic, but overall job performance. 52% of those in the preliminary exit polls disapprove of President Trump's job performance, 47 approve. When it comes to this central debate that really defined both campaigns, whether we should contain COVID or open the country right now, look at that. 52% saying we should contain the pandemic first, 42% saying rebuild the economy. Now, when asked who would better contain COVID efforts, how are we doing so far? Before we get to that, how are we doing so far? 18% very well. 30% somewhat well, 16% somewhat badly, and that number there at the end, the highest of all 4, 35% saying we're containing COVID-19 very badly in this country. 2 more key questions, George, coming in already. First, who is better to handle the pandemic as we move forward? Joe Biden, 52%, Donald Trump's 43%. And this next question is also key as we make our way through this night, because President Trump had held the edge in polling just really until it started to tighten in recent days. Look at this on the economy tonight, and these are preliminary exit polls, but right right now, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, even at 49.
Elections so often turn on that question. Let's hear with you at 7 o'clock. They don't all close until 8 o'clock, but there you see, with about 20% of the expected vote in, Donald Trump leading Joe Biden 51 to 48. I want to go to the state of Kentucky. Kentucky will go to Donald Trump. It is the home of the Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. Donald Trump won it last time around by about 30 points. Only about a third of the vote is in right now, but we can project that Donald Trump will win Kentucky again. Getting more vote in from the state of Georgia right now, about 77% of the expected vote in. A long way to go there in Georgia. Donald Trump leading Joe Biden right now. In the state of Virginia, has been trending blue for some time. Right now, this could be, this is interesting. Donald Trump still ahead with about 13% of the expected vote in. The polls were not close in Virginia. Looking forward, we'll have to watch where the vote is coming in from the state of Virginia right now. As we've said, the president has already won the state with 60% of the vote in Indiana. Right there, we cannot project that yet, but the president is well ahead right there. And in Florida, we are, of course, watching the vote there in Florida with 80% of the expected vote in right there. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are battling it out. We have another state to call. Not a big surprise here, Vermont. Vermont, Joe Biden will win the state of Vermont, and it's 3 electoral votes. Only 5% of the expected vote in, but we can project that Joe Biden will win there handily. 8 p.m. in the East, polls have just closed in 16 more states, and we have more results. In the state of New Jersey, Joe Biden will win the state of New Jersey. Chris Christie, I guess that's not a surprise.
I'm going to fall off my chair. I can't believe it. Are you going to tell me Cory Booker won next? I'm really going to pass
We
out.
will check that. Another projection also, state of Massachusetts, Joe Biden will win the state of Massachusetts right there, and it's 11 electoral votes. Joe Biden will win the state of Maryland, and it's 10 electoral votes. A pickup for Donald Trump in the state of Oklahoma. Of course, he won that last time around. 7 electoral votes at play, and Donald Trump will win those. Joe Biden will win his home state of Delaware, and it's 3 electoral votes. Joe Biden will win the District of Columbia, and it's 3 electoral votes. But let's take a look down in the map now and see what we show. Oklahoma and Kentucky for President Trump, Vermont and those states up in the Northeast, Massachusetts, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey for Joe Biden right now. Still early in the night, 6 states to 2, 44 electoral votes to 15. Let's take a deeper dive now at the state of Ohio in the middle of the country. 28% of the expected vote is in, and right now, at least, Tom Yamas, Joe Biden has a lead.
Yeah, and actually, there's some good news for Joe Biden out of Ohio. The Biden campaign didn't really contest Ohio, and they made some last-minute trips there, and here's why they have reasons to be happy. In counties like Wood that went for Barack Obama, then switched over to President Trump, you can see Joe Biden is on top. 55% of the vote in, but you can see he's overperforming from Hillary Clinton 4 years ago. Another one of those counties that President Trump was able to swing, Trumbull County. You can see Joe Biden again on top. He's up almost 10 points there as well. But, you know, Ohio's all about the 3 C's. And, George, I know you know this. Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. We don't have information for Cincinnati yet, but in Columbus and in Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, Joe Biden is doing really well. They're 74%. He's up almost 10 points from where Hillary Clinton was. These are the areas where Democrats have to really run up the vote. Lake County, which is always a nail-biter, 51 to 47 there. His numbers are really good compared to Hillary Clinton 4 years ago.
Okay, Tom, thanks. Come in for Donald Trump. Tennessee, and it's 11 electoral votes will go for Donald Trump. Also, Donald Trump has now picked up the state of Indiana and its electoral vote. Can project another state for Donald Trump right now, West Virginia. West Virginia and its 5 electoral votes will go to Donald Trump. Only 10% of the expected vote in it, but that is a clear win tonight for Donald Trump. So let's take another look at the board. Right now, you see Joe Biden has 44 electoral votes. Donald Trump has 42. We have a long way to go on this election night 2020. Joe Biden will win the state of north of New York, Donald Trump's former home state. 29 electoral votes there. Not a surprise there in the state of New York. That Joe Biden is going to win the state of Connecticut. No surprise there. Of course, Joe Biden will win the state of Connecticut. You see him filling in the blue up there in the northeast.
Moving fairly smoothly here in Wisconsin, but it may be a long night. George?
Okay, Deborah Roberts, thanks very much. We're just hearing now that we can project the state of South Dakota for Donald Trump. Again, not a surprise right there. South Dakota will go to Donald Trump tonight. So seeing the red states are filling in red, the blue states are filling in blue. All the battlegrounds still in play. One of the biggest ones right now, Ohio, the state of Ohio, 55% of the vote in. Tommy, I'm getting a little closer. We can now project that Joe Biden is going to win the state of Colorado, and it's 9 electoral votes. Matt Gutman is there in Denver, Colorado. Matt, what do you make of it?
Hey, George, not a very big surprise here. Democratic candidates have won the past 3 elections here in Colorado. In the Senate, it's been 4 of 5, and not very unusual. This is something that has been forecast in the polls all along.
More states now for President Trump. Donald Trump will win the state of Alabama. 10% of the vote in. Of course, that is a strong Republican state. Big Senate race there as well. Republicans hoping to pick up a Senate seat there. Tommy Tuberville over Doug Jones. We don't have a projection on that yet, but we can say that Donald Trump will also win the state of North Dakota tonight. So he's picked up 2 more states there for the president. We see 89 electoral votes for Joe Biden, 63 for Donald Trump right now. We can project now the state of South Carolina is going to go to Donald Trump. South Carolina, strong red state. Donald Trump won it 4 years ago. He is going to win it again tonight. Janae Norman is in South Carolina.
Yeah, hey, George, we expected this. This is a state that hasn't voted for a Democrat for president since 1976. President Trump's support has remained steady, and exit polls showing that the president approval rating is about 55%.
Can't project that yet, but you just heard that chime. That means we can project that in Colorado, the Senate race in Colorado, former Governor John Hickenlooper is going to defeat Cory Gardner, the incumbent Republican senator. So that is a pickup for the Democrats tonight in the Senate. John Hickenlooper has defeated Cory Gardner, John Karl. Magic numbers in the Senate: 3 if Biden wins for the Democrats, 4 if he doesn't.
Yeah, and this was probably their top target to pick up. Cory Gardner tied himself quite closely to Donald Trump, actually tried to avoid comment whenever there was anything controversial. Hickenlooper, the former governor, of course, briefly ran for president, recruited to run for this seat. No surprise that this is the first pickup. They've got to pick up a few more.
Senate projection right now, it's in the state of Alabama. And Tommy Tuberville is going to be the next senator from the state of Alabama, Republican. Former Auburn football coach, defeated Senator Doug Jones, a Democrat who was seeking his first full term. Of course, he won a special election in 2017. John Karl, the president had a lot of personal interest in this race.
He did. This was Jeff Sessions' seat, and Jeff Sessions left the seat to become Donald Trump's attorney general and to become Donald Trump's hated attorney general. And when Sessions tried to get his seat back, the president endorsed Tommy Tuberville and worked very hard, actually, to get Sessions to lose. Not a surprise that Doug Jones is losing here. This was really a once-in-a-lifetime situation that brought Doug Jones, a Democrat, representing Alabama in the Senate.
Biden has won 10 states, 93 electoral votes. Donald Trump has won 12 states, 83 electoral votes. Not a surprise yet. Right now, that is a rerun of the 2016 map. We can add 2 more states right now, though. Joe Biden's going to win the state of New Hampshire, and it's 4 electoral votes. Donald Trump had fought pretty hard. They thought that was one of those states they might be able to take back in 2020, but it was not to be. Joe Biden will win the state of New Hampshire, and it's 4 electoral votes. But Donald Trump will hold on to Louisiana, and it's 8 electoral votes. No surprise there. Blue state stays blue. Right now, we're just getting some results in from the state of Nebraska. And Donald Trump has won not all of the votes yet in the state of Nebraska, but he has won 3 of the 5 votes in the state of Nebraska. That's the overall state vote. Nebraska, one of those states that splits their electoral votes also among congressional districts. Tom Yamas, why don't you explain that?
Yeah, okay, so let's take a look at Nebraska right now and follow along with us because it gets a little complicated. As George mentioned, Nebraska splits its electoral votes. Here is the beautiful state of Nebraska right here. We're going to show you 2 counties right here. This is Sarpy, a conservative county that makes up the 2nd congressional district. Donald Trump should be on top right now, and he's not. He won this county 4 years ago, and that's good news for Joe Biden because just above this is Douglas County, and it's like the numbers are reversed here, George. Hillary Clinton won this 4 years ago. This is Omaha right here, right? And Democrats usually always win this area, even though Trump pulled off the win in the congressional district 4 years ago. It was because of that other county. The numbers are inverted right now, still very, very close here. To give you an idea of the size of this county, it's essentially like this. It is minuscule. But if the race were to come down, and I don't want to say it, but you know what it is, if it were to come down to 269, whoever won that one county, that tiny little county, Nebraska, those would be the most important Americans right now on the planet.
That turns it into a 270, 268. We also have.
I have something I want to say to them right now.
I can't believe you already have their number.
Hello? Can you hear me there?
I don't. You should have their number. That's malpractice, bro.
I have their emails.
We do have another state to call right now. The state of Utah is going to go to Donald Trump. Again, not much of a surprise right there. Donald Trump is going to win the state of Utah, and it's 6 electoral votes. Even though that's the home of Mitt Romney, of course, is the only Republican senator who voted to convict Donald Trump in the impeachment trial. We have another call to make, another projection to make in the state of Kansas. Donald Trump is going to win the state of Kansas. Again, that's a strong red state, has always been. 6 electoral votes. He won by 21 points back in 2016. Donald Trump will win again.
Over the course of the evening.
Cecilia Vega, thanks very much. ABC News can now project the Democrats are going to retain the House of Representatives. Not a surprise here. Democrats went into the night with a healthy margin in the House, but we can now say the Democrats will keep that margin. Mary Bruce, that means likely that Nancy Pelosi, who I think had not spoken to President Trump in over a year, will return as Speaker.
That certainly does seem to be the case, George. We know that they have had this incredibly fraught relationship. There is still that fraught relationship continuing. I think specifically about the fight over COVID relief, which continues to be ongoing, even given the state of this pandemic. The two sides have not been able to come together and pass a COVID relief bill in these last recent weeks. It seems that certainly is not going to happen anytime soon. And yet Nancy Pelosi will continue. If Donald Trump continues to be president, Nancy Pelosi will continue to be his foe on Capitol Hill.
Okay, Mary Bruce, thanks very much. Take one more look at the board here. 95 electoral votes for Donald Trump.
Right comes to the white working class and the working class among many of the minorities as well.
Thank you, Terry. Another state has just gone to Joe Biden, Illinois, and it's 20 electoral votes, solid Democratic state, won by Hillary Clinton in 2016 by 17 points. Rahm Emanuel, your home state.
What's interesting, right there it is. I'm going to drop it the same way he's going to drop about New Jersey. Here's what I would say when you look at the whole map. Every state right now that we're seeing is performed to actually what was expected, except for Arizona. That's the only one that's outperformed, that is different than what happened in 2016.
But that's an important distinction. You say to 2016, not necessarily to the wealth of polls we saw coming into this election.
No, that's what I was going to get to next. I appreciate the lead-in right there.
Can project now that Donald Trump, as you see up there, has won the state of Wyoming, and it's 3 electoral votes, solid Republican state, no surprise there. And we can report in the Senate, Lindsey Graham will hold on to his seat in South Carolina, faced a fierce, surprising challenge from Jamie Harrison, who raised tens of millions of dollars in the final weeks of this campaign. It wasn't enough to put him over the top. Janae Norman in South Carolina.
Yeah, George, Jamie Harrison spoke not long ago conceding the race to Lindsey Graham, a hard-fought race that Lindsey Graham hadn't originally anticipated. As you just mentioned, Harrison raised record-setting amounts of money, and he pushed this idea about the New South, hoping a surge of black voters and growing diversity in this historically red state could help propel.
Now project 3 more states for Joe Biden in the West. California, 55 electoral votes. Won by Hillary Clinton by 30 points back in 2016. Joe Biden will win its 55 electoral votes in 2020. He will also win the 7 electoral votes in the state of Oregon, and he will win the state of Washington as well. And it's 12 electoral votes. You see that entire Pacific coast. No surprise there. It is going to go to Joe Biden. So right now at this hour, Joe Biden has 187 electoral votes. Donald Trump has 114. Again, right now it is a complete repeat of the 2016 map. All the big battleground states. Mexico is going to go to Joe Biden, state of New Mexico, and it's 5 electoral votes. Hillary Clinton won it by 8 points in 2016. Joe Biden will win it tonight. And the state of Idaho, it's 4 electoral votes. No surprise there. Going to go to Donald Trump. He won the state by 32 points in 2016.
about Texas. John Carl and I were just talking about this. If you look at some of the big counties like Harris County, Houston, so Joe Biden in Houston, the biggest city, he's basically doing what Democrats did 4 years ago. I'm going to give it back over to you.
You got to do that because we are now projecting that Donald Trump will win the state of Ohio. Donald Trump will win the state of Ohio tonight. It's 18 electoral votes, excuse me, go to Donald Trump. He won it 4 years ago. He will win it again tonight. Chris Christie, I guess that's not a surprise, but still an important win.
Really important because there was no way for the president to win without Ohio. And as we know, no Republican president has ever been elected without Ohio. So, you know, when you talk about a must-win state, when you got that much history behind it, it's a must-win state. So he pulled it off. It took a little longer than we all thought, but he pulled that one off, and it allows him to continue in the game.
The question, Yvette Simpson, now is what is that going to tell us about what happens in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania?
Well, you just don't know. Let's remember that Ohio was the one state in that area that didn't flip in 18. So I don't want to cast aspersions about what might happen. So Ohio was red for Trump, and then it was red again. We lost statewide in Ohio for a lot of reasons. We didn't win any of the congressional races that we were fighting in 18. But Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, they all flipped, presumably, in the midterm. So I still hold out hope for those other three states, even though, unfortunately, my home state of Ohio did not come through today.
What are you seeing, David, in the exit polls from Ohio?
A lot of really interesting things coming in on Ohio. First, let's take a look at the suburban vote in Ohio. 52% of it went to Donald Trump, and then you do the breakdown, which really illustrates the gender gap, but it's huge. With women, Joe Biden won with women in the suburbs of Ohio, 53 to 47, but look at men. The gap is huge. 59% with Donald Trump to 39% in the exit polls for Joe Biden. On handling the economy, 56% with Donald Trump, well over 42% for Joe Biden. Job performance, 54% approve of the job performance from President Trump. Contain COVID, rebuild the economy, almost evenly split. But look at this. The opinion of Donald Trump, 51% unfavorable, but even higher for Joe Biden, 52%. This was really interesting, George. First-time voters, Donald Trump wins them, 54% to Joe Biden. It's what you said earlier, George. Donald Trump is getting out his voters. And on independents, Joe Biden with an edge, but certainly not enough to make up the room for those.
That trine right there, that means that we have another state to project, and it is the state of Virginia. It is going to Joe Biden. It's 13 electoral votes. Again, not a surprise, but now it's been officially projected by ABC News. Joe Biden will win the state of Virginia. The blue states are filling in blue. The red states are filling in red right now. Let's go to the state of Wisconsin. Take a look at that. This is one of the states that Joe Biden will have to flip if he wants to be the next president of the United States. 64% of the expected vote is in. Right now, Donald Trump is in the lead. Delaware, let's listen in.
We're going to go into maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even longer. But look, we feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election. We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote that it was going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient until the hard work of tallying the votes is finished. And it ain't over till every vote is counted, every ballot is counted. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good about where we are. We believe one of the nets has suggested we've already won Arizona, but we're confident about Arizona. That's a turnaround. We also just called it for Minnesota, and we're still in the game in Georgia, although that's not one we expected. And we're feeling real good about Wisconsin and Michigan. And by the way, it's going to take time to count the votes. We're going to win Pennsylvania. I've been talking to folks in Philly, Allegheny County, Scranton, and they're really encouraged by the turnout and what they see. Look, you know, we could know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer. As I've said all along, it's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. But I'm optimistic about this outcome. And I want to thank every one of you who came out and voted in this election. And by the way, Chris Coons and the Democrats, congratulations here in Delaware. Pardon? Hey, John, the Gov, yeah, the whole team, man. You've done a great job. I'm grateful to the poll workers, to our volunteers, our canvassers, everyone who participated in this democratic process. And I'm grateful to all of my supporters here in Delaware and all across the nation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And folks, you heard me say it before. Every time I walk out of my grandpa's house up in Scranton, he'd yell, "Joey, keep the faith." And my grandma, when she was alive, yelled, "No, Joey, spread it. Keep the faith, guys. We're going to win this." Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your patience is great.
We're calling two more states, projecting two more states for Donald Trump. First one is the state of Iowa. The state of Iowa and its 6 electoral votes are going to go to Donald Trump. Also, the state of Florida and its 29 electoral votes will go to Donald Trump. So, again, the red states are filling in red. Blue states are filling in blue. Joe Biden, we can project, is going to win the state of Rhode Island. Again, that's not a surprise right there. The blue map is filling in for Joe Biden. The red map is filling in for Donald Trump. Projection now for Donald Trump, it is the state of Texas, turning to be more of a battleground than people expected this year, but Donald Trump will win again. 38 electoral votes in the state of Texas. Matthew Dowd, it was a battle for a while. Democrats had their hopes up, particularly after they saw that that early vote come in ahead of 2016 votes, but Donald Trump able to pull it out. I think this is the first time in a presidential election that I've covered where I'm actually projecting a single congressional district and that it may matter. This is in the state of Nebraska. We've now projected that Donald Trump will win the first congressional district in the state of Nebraska, but Joe Biden will win the second congressional district in the state of Nebraska, picking up one electoral vote in that red state. Nate Silver, explain to everybody why this is important.
So this is very important because if Joe Biden wins Arizona but loses Pennsylvania, he'd be at 269 electoral votes. He needs one more to break the tie, and that is one electoral vote. So if you look at our map here, showing what ABC News has called so far, before we projected Nebraska 2, we had Biden with a 69% chance of winning. If you add that to Biden's tally, he goes up by quite a bit here. It's going to recalculate for a second. But he goes up to 84%. It means that Arizona now,
for one congressional district, that is a pretty significant increase.
Because it's that plus Arizona. I mean, maybe Biden's easiest path right now, he is ahead in Arizona. There's some question about how much more Election Day vote there is to be counted. But Arizona, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, then he doesn't have to worry about Pennsylvania. And that gives him a lot more options. And so those two together, we have not called Arizona yet, but Arizona plus Nebraska.
That's the simplest way to explain it, right? That Arizona plus Nebraska means you can sacrifice Pennsylvania and still have a path to 270.
Exactly.
We have another state to now project for Joe Biden. It is going to be the state of Minnesota for Joe Biden. Joe Biden will win the state of Minnesota, and it's 10 electoral votes. It's good timing there. Picking up on what Nate was just saying, I want to bring this to John Carl. We know that President Trump had some hope in Minnesota. He spent a fair amount of time there, spent a fair amount of money there, because he wanted an insurance policy against a loss in Wisconsin or Michigan and Pennsylvania. It's not to be tonight. You combine that with Nebraska, and we're getting a much clearer picture of what each side has to do in these final hours.
Absolutely. I mean, he went there in the last week. He barely lost. Minnesota was the closest state that he could have flipped, and it's one of those blue wall states that he didn't get that he thought he had a chance. So now, you're looking at a situation where he really has to pick off at least Pennsylvania and maybe Pennsylvania plus Michigan or Wisconsin, depending on what happens in Arizona.
So keeping an eye on the Senate races right now, and we can say now that Joni Ernst in the state of Iowa will win. Her Senate race will be reelected Republican from the state of Iowa. Kana Whitworth is there. This is an important hold for the Republicans in the state of Iowa.
Absolutely, George. And, yesterday we saw Joni Ernst talk with Ivanka Trump, two voters right here in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, Joni Ernst really aligned herself with President Donald Trump, and that became incredibly important as they came up to the end of this race. Now, Joni Ernst initially was a little bit behind in some of these September polls, but as we inched toward Election Day, she started to make up some of that vote, and we really saw that, George, in these independent voters. Voters here in Iowa are known to split the ticket, but she relied on those independent voters. They turned towards her, and many of them said it was important to people here in Iowa to keep that Republican control of the Senate.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please sit. Thank you. This is without question the latest news conference I've ever had. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. And I want to thank the American people for their tremendous support. Millions and millions of people voted for us tonight. And a very sad group of people is trying to disenfranchise that group of people. And we won't stand for it. We will not stand for it. I want to thank the First Lady, my entire family, and Vice President Pence, Mrs. Pence, for being with us all through this. And we were getting ready for a big celebration. We were winning everything, and all of a sudden it was just called off. The results tonight have been phenomenal, and we are getting ready. I mean, literally, we were just all set to get outside and just celebrate something that was so beautiful, so good, such a vote, such a success. The citizens of this country have come out in record numbers. This is a record. There's never been anything like it. To support our incredible movement, we won states that we weren't expected to win. Florida, we didn't win it. We won it by a lot. And we won the great state of Ohio. We won Texas. We won Texas. We won Texas by 700,000 votes, and they don't even include it in the tabulations. It's also clear that we have won Georgia. We're up by 2.5% or 117,000 votes with only 7% left. They're never going to catch us. They can't catch us. Likewise, we've clearly won North Carolina, where we're up 1.4%. or 77,000 votes with only approximately 5% left. They can't catch us. We also, if you look and you see, Arizona, we have a lot of life in that. And somebody declared that it was a victory for, and maybe it will be. I mean, that's possible. But certainly there were a lot of votes out there that we could get, because we're now just coming into what they call Trump territory. I don't know what you call it, but these were friendly Trump voters, and that could be overturned. The gentleman that called it, I watched tonight, he said, well, we think it's fairly unlikely that he could catch. Well, fairly unlikely? And we don't even need it. We don't need that. That was just a state that if we would have gotten it, it would have been nice, Arizona. But there's a possibility, maybe even a good possibility. In fact, since I saw that originally, it's been changed, and the numbers have substantially come down just in a small amount of votes. So we want that, obviously, to stay in play. But most importantly, we're winning Pennsylvania by a tremendous amount of votes. We're up 600. Think of this. Think of this. Think of this. We're up 690,000 votes in Pennsylvania. 690,000. These aren't even close. It's not like, oh, it's close. With 64% of the vote in, it's going to be almost impossible to catch. And we're coming into good Pennsylvania areas where they happen to like your president. I mean, it's like very good. So we'll probably expand that. We're winning Michigan by, I'll tell you, I looked at the numbers. I said, whoa. I said, wow, that's a lot. By almost 300,000 votes, and 65% of the vote is in. And we're winning Wisconsin, so we're winning. We don't need all of them. We need, because when you add Texas in, which wasn't added, I spoke with the really wonderful governor of Texas just a little while ago, and Greg Abbott, he said, congratulations. He called me to congratulate me on winning Texas. I mean, we won Texas. I don't think they finished quite the tabulation, but there's no way. And it was almost complete, but he congratulated me. Then he said, by the way, what's going on? I've never seen anything like this. Can I tell you what? Nobody has. So we won by 107,000 votes with 81% of the vote. That's Michigan. So when you take those 3 states in particular, and you take all of the others, I mean, we have so many, we had such a big night. You just take a look at all of these states that we've won tonight, and then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won them by. And all of a sudden, it's not like we're up 12 votes and we have 60% left. We won states, and all of a sudden, I said, what happened to the election? It's off. And we have all these announcers saying, what happened? And then they said, oh, because you know what happened? They knew they couldn't win, so they said, let's go to court. And did I predict this, Newt? Did I say this? I've been saying this from the day I heard they were going to send out tens of millions of ballots. I said exactly, because either they were going to win, or if they didn't win, they'll take us to court. So Florida was a tremendous victory, 377,000. Texas, as we said. Ohio, think of this. Ohio, a tremendous state, a big state. I love Ohio. We won by 8.1%, 461. Think of it. Almost 500,000 votes. North Carolina, big victory with North Carolina. And so we won there. We lead by 76,000 votes with almost nothing left. And all of a sudden, everything just stopped. This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. We did win this election. So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list, okay? It's a very sad moment. To me, this is a very sad moment, and we will win this, and we, as far as I'm concerned, we already have won it. So I just want to thank you, and I want to thank all of our support. I want to thank all of the people that worked with us, and Mr. Vice President, say a few words, please. Please.
Let's try to unpack now some of what we saw from the president right there as Vice President Pence starts to talk. It is true that President Trump has won the states of Ohio and Texas and Florida according to our projections. But it's a matter of fact right now that at this hour, at least, Joe Biden has 221 electoral votes to the 213 electoral votes of Donald Trump. And in the popular vote right now, Joe Biden is also leading the popular vote right now. It's close, but over 65,634,000 votes plus for Joe Biden. And 63,952 for Donald Trump. So what we're seeing right there is Donald Trump is losing right now in both the popular vote and the electoral vote. And there are many states left to be called. We have not yet projected the state of Nevada, the state of Arizona, the state of Alaska, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Maine, still yet to be called. An awful lot of votes yet to be counted. I guess I'm going to start with our legal team right here because the president said something. I'm not sure if he means it. I'm not sure if he can do it. But he said, and Dan Abrams, let me start with you, and then Kate and Terry also weigh in. He says he's going to go to the Supreme Court and get them to stop the counting of the votes.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he's talking about because they already tried to stop certain votes, for example, in Pennsylvania, from counting that are coming in. They're not going to have any success in stopping the vote counting right now.
We have to take a break. You get the last word.
You know, I think the fact that he used the word disenfranchised is disrespectful. Because if anything, the voters that have been disenfranchised have been the Democratic voters who have, waited for decisions, have waited in line, the post office has been compromised. If anybody's stealing an election, if anybody's compromising an election, it's been his side. So I think it's deeply disrespectful for him to use those words. I do agree with Heidi that I think the signaling to the folks who are standing back and standing by to redeem him if this election is quote unquote stolen from him. I think that rhetoric needs to be completely squashed and brought down. There are a lot of people who are afraid of that. And I think really when I look at that red map, all of these red states that have voted for this guy, this is your guy. This is a guy who is not respecting the foundation of our very democracy, and I think it's a shame.
This is 2020, which means we're watching something we have never seen before. Presidential election with several states too close to call, millions of ballots left to be counted. So here's where the race stands right now. President Trump has racked up 213 electoral votes. Joe Biden has 225 electoral votes so far. The question, of course, is who can get to 270, the number needed to win. 23 states have been declared for the president, 19 for Biden. But you see those gray states up there on the map. So many key battlegrounds still outstanding. Michigan, Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Pennsylvania.
And that's a live look at the votes still being counted in Philadelphia. Millions of votes still being counted across the country, George.
And let's take a look at the White House right now. That's where President Trump came out at around 2 a.m. declaring basically that he had won the election, that he was the victim of fraud, that his voters were being disenfranchised. He even threatened to go to the Supreme Court to stop the count, even though millions of ballots are outstanding. It was a false claim and an empty threat. The president is behind right now in the Electoral College and the popular vote. He can't go to the Supreme Court to stop the counting. There's days of countings ahead. We have some more electoral votes to project right now. They come from the state of Maine, and 2 more of Maine's electoral votes will now go to Joe Biden. It has 4 electoral votes in total, and Joe Biden has now won those electoral votes in the state of Maine. Again, not a surprise there, although one of the congressional districts in Maine was more heavily Republican, but Joe Biden winning that state of Maine handily.
Just sort of recap why these results are taking so long and why in some cases we're seeing what were Trump leads yesterday and last night shrinking and in some cases becoming Biden leads.
Yeah, if I had a hammer, I'd keep hammering it, Diane. It's important to remember there's nothing surprising here. And in fact, the states that we're talking about that are taking a while to vote told us in advance it's going to take a while. And we knew that from the way that the state laws are structured. We knew that in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, the record numbers of early votes weren't even going to begin to get counted until yesterday, until Election Day itself. And in Pennsylvania in particular, state election officials warned us it's going to take several days to get a complete vote count. Wisconsin now has completed that count. Michigan's getting close. Pennsylvania's going to get closer. Georgia will be close as well. The western states that I mentioned, Arizona and Nevada, a lot of the vote that hasn't been tallied so far is actually Election Day vote as opposed to early vote. But regardless, that's how the state laws are structured. And it's a reminder again that the presidential election in this country is run by individual states, administered through a very decentralized system at a very local level. The information flows up through the states, and every state has to abide by its own laws. And the president or anyone else doesn't get to say to a state, this is when you have to stop a vote. This is how you have to conduct an election. There are unique rules. There are unique laws. Some of them are antiquated. Some of them are silly, but they exist, and states follow them. And that is exactly what continues to go on now as election workers continue to count the record number of votes that were cast in the run-up to yesterday, and yesterday included.
And Rick, in many of these cases, how we saw that unfold in terms of whether Donald Trump gained more votes later on in the night, earlier in the morning, or whether Biden made those gains later on in the counting process, had a lot to do with how the states count those votes, in what order they count those votes. Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's actually 2 reasons that are kind of connected, but a little bit separate, that explain why the vote count has favored Joe Biden after election night itself. One is that many states, as I mentioned, don't count the early vote until election day itself. And it was this year, it was the case this year, that Democrats made a concerted effort, in part because of COVID-19, in part just because they wanted to build up a big vote. They tried to get their voters to vote early. And President Trump was actually discouraging his people to do that. So we knew that Joe Biden was building up a lead that wouldn't entirely materialize until the vote count continued. And that would take well into the late night of this morning and into today and even beyond to fully represent itself. A lot of people called it a red mirage because these states would look redder than they actually were, Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, until that vote rolled in. The second reason is that some of these states, again, get back to the decentralized process, the cities vote last, and those are Democratic. So that's why we're seeing the vote change as we go on.
All right, Rick Klein.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kamala and I are here to make a brief statement, and I'm sure we'll have more to say later, and either tonight or tomorrow. But let me begin by thanking the press for being here and thanking everyone else. My fellow Americans, yesterday once again proved that democracy is the heartbeat of this nation, just as it has been the heartbeat of this nation for 2 centuries. And even in the face of a pandemic, more Americans voted this election than ever before in American history. Over 150 million people cast their votes. I think that's just extraordinary. And if we had any doubts, we shouldn't have any longer about a government of, by, and for the people. It's very much alive in America. Here, the people rule. Power can't be taken or asserted. It flows from the people, and it's their will that determines who will be the President of the United States, and their will alone. And now, after a long night of counting, it's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report that when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners. With all the votes counted, we have won Wisconsin by 20,000 votes, virtually the same margin that President Trump won that state 4 years ago. In Michigan, we lead by over 35,000 votes, and it's growing. A substantially bigger margin than President Trump won Michigan in 2016. Michigan will complete its vote soon, maybe as early as today. And I feel very good about Pennsylvania. Virtually all the remaining ballots to be counted were cast by mail. And we've been winning 78% of the votes by mail in Pennsylvania. We've flipped Arizona and the 2nd District of Nebraska. Of special significance to me is that we've won with the majority of the American people. And every indication is that that majority will grow. We have a popular vote lead of nearly 3 million votes, and every indication is that will grow as well. Indeed, Senator Harris and I are on track to win more votes than any ticket in the history of this country that ever won the presidency and vice presidency. Over 70 million votes. I'm very proud of our campaign. Only 3 presidential campaigns in the past have defeated an incumbent president. When it's finished, God willing, we'll be the 4th. This is a major achievement. This is a major achievement. And it's been a long and difficult campaign. But it's been a more difficult time for our country, a hard time. We've had hard campaigns before. We've faced hard times before. So once this election is finalized and behind us, it'll be time for us to do what we've always done as Americans, to put the harsh rhetoric of the campaign behind us, to lower the temperature, to see each other again, to listen to one another, to hear each other again, and respect and care for one another, to unite, to heal, to come together as a nation. I know this won't be easy. I'm not naive. Neither of us are. I know how deep and hard the opposing views are in our country on so many things. But I also know this as well. To make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as enemies. We are not enemies. What brings us together as Americans is so much stronger than anything that can tear us apart. So let me be clear. We are campaigning as Democrats, but I will govern as an American president. The presidency itself is not a partisan institution. It's the one office in this nation that represents everyone. And it demands a duty of care for all Americans. And that is precisely what I will do. I will work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as I will for those who did vote for me. Now, every vote must be counted. No one's going to take our democracy away from us. Not now, not ever. America's come too far. America's fought too many battles. America's endured too much to ever let that happen. We, the people, will not be silenced. We, the people, will not be bullied. We, the people, will not surrender. My friends, I'm confident we'll emerge victorious. But this will not be my victory alone or our victory alone. It'll be a victory for the American people, for our democracy, for America. And there will be no blue states and red states when we win, just the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
ABC News is now projecting Joe Biden will win the key state of Michigan. That state has gone to Democrats in the past, but it famously went to Donald Trump 4 years ago. Again, ABC News now projecting Joe Biden has won the state of Michigan.
It's great to have you with us here on this Wednesday night. A very tense nation still waiting tonight to learn who will be the next president of the United States. So many Americans exhausted by this pandemic, exhausted by these polarized times, and now Americans across this country are being asked for their patience as every vote is counted, and we knew in this pandemic it could take time. There is news coming in tonight on the election. 2 key states now. ABC News can now project former Vice President Joe Biden will win the state of Michigan. This, of course, was a crucial part of Biden's strategy to try to rebuild that blue wall for Democrats. And with 100% of the precincts reporting in Wisconsin tonight, ABC News can now characterize Joe Biden the apparent winner in Wisconsin. We're being careful with the language because it's a very close race there. Biden appearing to win by about the same margin President Trump won that state 4 years ago. Tonight, the president's campaign now saying it will demand a recount in Wisconsin. So where do things stand tonight? Former Vice President Joe Biden has now won 21 states and Washington, D.C., 253 electoral votes. President Trump has won 23 states, 214 electoral votes. Of course, this is all about reaching that key number, 270. And Joe Biden leading in the popular vote tonight by more than 3 million votes. Here's the map. You can see the key battleground states there, right there in gray, where it's still too close to call. From Pennsylvania, we go south there to North Carolina and Georgia, then out west to Arizona and Nevada. And you can see the Great Lakes states there, Wisconsin and Michigan, now blue for Joe Biden. We did hear from the former Vice President Joe Biden late today about what he sees in the immediate days ahead, and news tonight from the Trump campaign now crafting its legal strategy moving forward. But we want to get right to the big board again tonight, where it's close, where we're still waiting. Tom Llamas with us again this evening. So, Tom, Wisconsin, Michigan for Joe Biden. So where does Pennsylvania stand tonight?
All right, let's dig in a little deeper on Pennsylvania. This is the main battleground we're watching at this hour right now. David, I'm going to blow it up for you to put it here. If you look at the score right now, the amount of electoral votes, there's a spread of about 277,000. So the president has a commanding lead. The problem right now for the president is there's still 1 million ballots that have yet to be counted, right? So you ask yourself, where are those ballots coming from? They're coming from areas where Democrats do really well. The area of Pittsburgh and the suburbs, and the area of Philadelphia and the suburbs as well. That's why Democrats feel they're confident that they can eventually catch up.
Yeah, so Trump leading there, but the Biden team saying they can catch up given where those votes are. Both campaigns sounding confident in Pennsylvania. Let's go south. North Carolina and Georgia. The Trump campaign feeling good about both states, but the Biden camp still hopeful in Georgia tonight?
That is right. First in North Carolina, though, David, President Trump does have a lead there. Let's dig in a little deeper in Georgia and talk to you about the numbers again. So when we talk about the numbers here, there is a 58,000 vote difference. It is razor tight in Georgia right now. But here's the problem for the president. There's 200,000 votes that have yet to be counted. Where are those votes coming from? They're coming from the Democratic headquarters, essentially in Georgia, right there in Atlanta. All those counties, that is the big blue area for Democrats right now. That's where they've been able to drive up the score in other elections. And that's why Joe Biden still feels he has a chance in Georgia.
All right, all eyes on Metro Atlanta to determine Georgia. Let's go out west, Tom. Arizona and Nevada very close, and they're going to be pivotal.
Yeah, that's right. So look, in Nevada, a very close race. Joe Biden is on top by about 8,000 votes. But let's dig in a little deeper in Arizona. And these are where the numbers are right now. In Arizona, there's about a 90,000 vote difference. Joe Biden on top right now, but there's still 400,000 votes to go. And this is why the president thinks he may have a chance in Arizona. The problem, it's in Maricopa County right now. Maricopa County is Phoenix. It's where one of the largest cities in the entire state is. And so far, Joe Biden has a commanding lead in that county.
All right, Tom, you and I have been studying these pathways really for both campaigns. The Biden campaign tonight very hopeful that if they can hold on to the states where they're currently leading right now, they believe that's their path to the White House.
That's right. For the purpose of this segment, we haven't projected Alaska, but we're going to give that to President Trump because historically, that's how it breaks. But look at the path for Joe Biden tonight. Arizona, he's on top there. If he wins there, and Nevada, look at this number, David, 270. He gets to become president. Now, it's a different story for President Trump.
That's right. It's a broken record for you and me, Tom. We always talk about Pennsylvania, and it's even more crucial as we get closer to that key number of 270.
That's right. So, look, the president's electoral votes are right there, 217. He has to win Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. But look up there. It's still not enough. It is not 270. He has to come out west and either win Nevada or Arizona. It's a little bit more difficult. I could even say much more difficult for the president tonight, David.
All right. The real reason I wanted to check in with you is just to make sure you had a pulse. You were still awake, Tom. Doing
I'm
a great
awake,
job.
and again, David, the board is juiced up, just maybe a little tired.
All right. We'll see you at 10 p.m. for our primetime special. Tom, thank you.
Next, we're going to go to Nevada, which was quiet on Wednesday. And now Joe Biden with a slight lead there this morning. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, is in Las Vegas with more. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Michael. It's quiet no more, and that margin you spoke of, it's paper thin, only about 7,500 votes at this point, which may be one of the reasons that the Trump campaign is flying in major top operatives. They said they have a major announcement coming up this morning, and I just got off the phone with one of them who told me there will be a lawsuit here in Nevada. They're complaining about a lack of transparency. Now,
why don't you go back to the board and let's take a deeper dive into Pennsylvania, where the votes are outstanding, what we can expect in the coming hours.
Right, because the casual election observer may look at this right here and say Donald Trump's lead is 116,000 votes, right? That seems like a big margin. The problem is we know there are still a lot of outstanding votes. And I'm going to check real quick because the numbers are changing as we're coming on the air. I think it's 560 was the last number we have. That's how many ballots they're still counting. And here's the problem for President Trump. Those ballots are from this area, Philadelphia and the suburbs around it, in Pittsburgh. These are the Democratic strongholds, George, in Pennsylvania. And if Joe Biden can run up the score there, he's going to catch up. That's why the Biden campaign feels they're in a good place. I want to show you one more data point, though, as we come out here, because we're talking about mail-in votes. We're talking about the early votes. This is the ratio right now. Look at this number, 80 to 20, and this is just 39% of the early vote. But the trend is way in Joe Biden's favor.
Reset where we are now in this race for president. There's the board right there. Joe Biden has 253 electoral votes. He's won 22 states. Donald Trump, 214 electoral votes, 23 states. You see those states in the gray that are still in play right now: Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Let's go through them one by one and take a look at the vote. Coming in first from Nevada, it's tight. Joe Biden now has about a 9,000 vote lead. Some new vote has come in the last hour, but it's a little bit of a wash. A slight increase race for Joe Biden right there in Arizona. We heard what Johnson say in the last hour, that they're going to take their time counting. It could take several more days there, but Joe Biden, despite some tightening overnight, has held his lead in the state of Arizona. Let's go to the east. Georgia, we're expecting many more votes to come in this afternoon, and it's gotten closer over the course of the last several hours. 14,000 votes now separate Donald Trump and Joe Biden. That could be heading for a recount in the state of Georgia. North Carolina, not much change there. Donald Trump holding on to his lead. And of course, Pennsylvania, the key state right now, where Donald Trump's still ahead, but his lead has been narrowing over the last several hours. This day of waiting has been defined by how the candidates have responded to the news. Biden emerged first in Delaware, saying the right to vote is sacred, followed by a series of false and inflammatory claims from the president at the White House.
We have no doubt that when the count is finished, Senator Harris and I will be declared the winners. So I ask everyone to stay calm, all the people to stay calm. The process is working. The count is being completed, and we'll know very soon.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
Chris Christie, it should not have to be said, counting absentee ballots is not illegal, it is not fraud, it is not corruption.
George, let's say I've been fortunate enough to be on the ballot a number of times myself. I've won, I've lost. And so as a candidate, you're even more invested in the integrity of the system. Right? So if this stuff is going on that the president's talking about, all of us want it ferreted out because it would undercut everything that we believe in our system. But as a prosecutor, that's like asking me to indict someone without showing me any evidence. If you're going to say those things from behind the podium at the White House, it's his right to do it. It's his right to pursue legal action. But show us the evidence. We heard nothing today about any evidence. I want to know what backs up what he said so that I can analyze it. And let me tell you, if he's right, I'll be outraged, and I'm sure you would be too.
And if he's wrong?
And if he's wrong, then the American people are going to be able to make the judgment about this election that the results have been fair. And this kind of thing, all it does is inflame without informing. And we cannot permit inflammation without information.
Breaking news that we just received, Joe Biden is now ahead in the state of Pennsylvania. The state now has 95% of expected votes reported. And this is a big one with 20 electoral votes up for grabs. Joe Biden now slightly ahead there in the state of Pennsylvania. So let's take a look at where things stand overall for the candidates. Joe Biden has 253 electoral votes. President Trump has 214 electoral votes. Again, why Pennsylvania is such a big one with 20 electoral votes up for grabs. It could put Joe Biden over that 270 mark. But again, this race is still up for grabs for either candidate because we're still waiting on results from 6 states. 5 of those are battlegrounds: Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada.
Let's get the view on the ground in these battleground states, starting in Georgia, a longtime Republican stronghold. Steve Osunsami is in Atlanta with more this morning. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, Michael. I just want to underline something here. I have lived in this state for more than 20 years. And if Joe Biden is able to win this state, he will have accomplished something that we rarely see here, which is a Democrat winning state office. Even President Obama was unable to win here.
So overnight, Joe Biden pulled ahead in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, right. So when we went to bed, President Trump had a 2,000 vote lead in the state of Georgia. At this hour, right now, we know that Joe Biden is on top with 1,000 votes. Still very, very tight. There's still about 8,000 votes still to be counted there in Georgia, so it could be anyone's race. The reason why Joe Biden is on top is because the votes are coming in from places like Gwinnett County. This is outside of Atlanta, one of the suburbs. You can see the ratio here. He's up 58.3 to 40.4, but it's other counties that are even bigger for Democrats. Places like Fulton and places like Clayton. Look at this, 84% of the vote going to Joe Biden. When the votes are coming from there, that's why you see Biden taking the lead, George.
More votes are coming in. They're coming in now in the state of Arizona. Let's go get those from Whit Johnson. Whit?
George, we're just looking at these numbers right now. Again, these are from Maricopa County, the most populated county in the state. And once again, Donald Trump is chipping away at Joe Biden's lead bit by bit. Biden right now statewide is up by about 43,000 votes. He was at 47,000 votes just about 20 minutes ago. Statewide, Biden is leading about 50% to 48.6%.
We have some news out of Arizona. We can now say that Mark Kelly, the Democrat in Arizona, will win the special election in the state of Arizona, defeating Martha McSally. Because this is a special election, he could be sworn in by November 30th in this lame duck session. There you see now Democrats have picked up 2 seats on the Republicans, Arizona and Colorado. Republicans have picked up a seat in the state of Alabama. Yvette Simpson, that means these 2 Senate runoffs in the state of Georgia are all important. We're joined now by Senator Bernie Sanders from Burlington, Vermont. Of course, he challenged Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination, endorsed him in his run for president. After that fight, Senator Sanders, thanks for joining us again tonight. Congratulations, Joe Biden won your state. Are you confident he's going to win the White House?
It's looking very good, and I want to congratulate him for the campaign that he ran.
And you gave him an awful lot of help. You endorsed him right away. You promised to work. You said the most important priority for all Democrats had to be to remove Donald Trump from the White House. What do you make of the results as we're seeing across the country right now? A nation still deeply divided. Donald Trump still getting the 2nd most votes of any candidate in American history. Republicans appearing, at least for now, depending on what happens in Georgia, to hold control of the Senate.
Well, George, to me, this election was about many, many things. But the most significant thing was about whether or not we end the pathological lying in the White House and we end the danger of losing our democracy and the rule of law in our country. And thank God it appears that we're going to end that danger. But right now, in front of us, is an enormous amount of work that must be done. Anyone who's sitting home tonight say, "Oh my goodness, wonderful, Joe Biden won." Our job is just beginning. You got mass unemployment, you got starvation wages in this country, you have systemic racism. We are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people. We are terribly worried about the existential threat of climate change. Our infrastructure is crumbling. What Congress must do with President Biden is move aggressively and rapidly on an agenda that stands for working people and for low-income people, and make that as bold as it possibly can be.
Well,
there's just a lot of pain in this country that has got to be addressed.
I guess it all comes down to possibly can be. You have fewer Democrats in the House right now. As I said, we don't know the outcome in the Senate, but it's going to be close either way, possibly Republican control. You earlier said that you expect Joe Biden to be the most progressive president since FDR. Is that still possible?
Absolutely it is. Look, the American people understand that we have enormous and profound crises. Does anybody out there think that $7.25 an hour is the kind of federal minimum wage we have? Does anyone out there think that we should be the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, not to guarantee paid family and medical leave, not to deal with the existential threat of climate change, not to create millions of jobs rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure? You know, George, I know I am attacked every day, far left, far left. But every idea that we are fighting for are ideas that are supported by the vast majority of the American people. Democrats, independents, Republicans. People understand that we have got to finally have a government working for all, not just the top 1%.
How much of that can Joe Biden do without Congress?
Well, obviously, as Donald Trump has shown us, the power of a pen on executive orders is very significant, and I hope he utilizes that. But I do believe, we talk about bringing a very divided nation together, and there's no question, in a very painful way, sad way, our country is divided. And one way, it's not going to solve all of our problems, not going to solve systemic racism, but one of the ways that we can bring people together is around an agenda that works for farmers in Iowa as well as low-income people in New York City. And there is a commonality of interest that we have. All of us need health care. All of us need decent wages. All of us want our kids to be able to get a college education. For too long, in my view, the Democratic Party has not been as aggressive as it should be in addressing the needs of the working class of this country. And that is why Trump has done so well with those people. It is time for us to expose Trump as a fraud and to address the real needs of working families in this country. And when those people stand up and say, you know what? Yeah, I want my kid to be able to get to college. Yeah, I want my mother to have decent health care and to be able to afford prescription drugs. Yeah, I'm a farmer, and I know what climate change is doing to my farm and this country. When we address the real needs of the people of this country, they will come around, they will demand that Congress act.
Bottom line, are you more exhilarated or relieved tonight?
I am very relieved. To be honest with you, I haven't been sleeping so well lately. I was very worried about 4 more years of Trump. It appears that that is not going to be the case. So I feel exhilarated, I feel relieved, but I know how much work we have to do, A, to win those 2 seats in Georgia to give Democrats control over the Senate, and B, to move forward an agenda that finally speaks to the needs of working families and not just the very wealthy.
Senator Sanders, thanks for your time.
We don't have a final declaration of victory yet, but the numbers tell us it's clear, tell us a clear and convincing story. We're going to win this race. Just look at what has happened since yesterday. 24 hours, we were behind in Georgia. Now we're ahead, and we're going to win that state. 24 hours ago, we were behind in Pennsylvania, and we are going to win Pennsylvania. And now we're ahead, but we're winning in Arizona, we're winning in Nevada, and in fact, our lead just doubled in Nevada. We're on track to over 300 electoral votes, electoral college votes. And look at the national numbers. We're going to win this race with a clear majority of the nation behind us. We've gotten over 74 million votes. Let me repeat that, 74 million votes. That's more than any presidential ticket has ever gotten in the history of the United States of America. And our vote total is still growing. We're beating Donald Trump by over 4 million votes. And that's a margin that's still growing as well. One of the things I'm especially proud of is how well we've done across America. And we're going to be the first Democrat to win in Arizona in 24 years. We're going to be the first Democrat to win Georgia in 28 years. And we've rebuilt the blue wall in the middle of the country that crumbled just 4 years ago. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the heartland of this nation. I know watching these vote tallies on TV moves very slow, and as slow as it goes, it can be numbing. But never forget, the tallies aren't just numbers. They represent votes and voters, men and women who exercise their fundamental right to have their voice heard. And what's becoming clear each hour is that record number of Americans of all races, faiths, religions chose change over more of the same. They've given us a mandate for action on COVID, the economy, climate change, systemic racism. They made it clear they want the country to come together, not continue to pull apart. The people spoke, more than 74 million Americans, and they spoke loudly for our ticket. But while we're waiting for the final results, I want people to know we're not waiting to get the work done and start the process. Yesterday, Senator Harris and I held meetings with groups of experts on public health and the economic crisis this country is facing. The pandemic, as you also know, is getting more worrisome all across the country. Daily cases are skyrocketing, and it's now believed that we could see as many as 200,000 cases in a single day. The death toll is approaching 240,000 lives lost to this virus. That's 240,000 empty chairs, kitchen tables, and dining room tables all across America. We'll never be able to measure all that pain and the loss, the suffering that so many families have experienced. We know something about what it feels like to lose someone. And I want them to know they're not alone. Our hearts break with you. I want everyone to know on day one, we're going to put our plan to control this virus into action. We can't save any of the lives lost, any of those have been lost, but we can save a lot of lives in the months ahead. Senator Harris and I also heard yesterday about how this recovery is slowing because of the failure to get the pandemic under control. More than 20 million people are on unemployment. Millions are worried about making rent and putting food on the table. Our economic plan will put a focus on a path to a strong recovery. Look, we both know tensions are high. They can be high after a tough election, one like we've had. But we need to remember, we have to remain calm, patient, let the process work out as we count all the votes. You know, we're proving again what we've proved for 244 years in this country. Democracy works. Your vote will be counted. I don't care how hard people try to stop it. I will not let it happen. The people will be heard. Our journey is toward a more perfect union, and it keeps moving on. In America, we hold strong views. We have strong disagreements, and that's okay. Strong disagreements are inevitable in a democracy, and strong disagreements are healthy. They're a sign of a vigorous debate, of deeply held views. But we have to remember, the purpose of our politics isn't total, unrelenting, unending warfare. No, the purpose of our politics, the work of the nation, isn't to fan the flames of conflict, but to solve problems, to guarantee justice, to give everybody a fair shot, and to improve the lives of our people. We may be opponents, but we're not enemies. We're Americans. No matter who you voted for, I'm certain of one thing. The vast majority of almost 150 million Americans who voted, they want to get the vitriol out of our politics. We're certainly not going to agree on a lot of issues, but at least we can agree to be civil with one another. We have to put the anger and the demonization behind us. It's time for us to come together as a nation to heal. It's not going to be easy, but we have to try. My responsibility as president will be to represent the whole nation. And I want you to know that I'll work as hard for those who voted against me as those who voted for me. That's the job. That's the job. It's called the duty of care for all Americans. We have serious problems to deal with, from COVID to the economy to racial justice to climate change. We don't have any more time to waste on partisan warfare. You know, and more than that, we have such an incredible opportunity to build the future we want for our kids and our grandkids. I've said many, many times, I've never been more optimistic about the future of this nation. There is no reason we can't own the 21st century. We just need to remember who we are. This is the United States of America. And there's never been anything we've been unable to do, unable to accomplish when we've done it together. I hope to be talking to you tomorrow. I want to thank you all, and may God bless you, and may God protect our troops. Good night.
Just heard the Vice President there saying hopes to come back tomorrow. As Mary Bruce said at the top, this is not exactly the speech she was hoping to give. Instead,
this is an ABC News election update. Now reporting Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
good morning. We have breaking news results from the state of Pennsylvania. Those results are in right now, and based on what we are seeing there, we can say that Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is on track to win the state of Pennsylvania, become the 46th president of the United States. Joe Biden will have at least 273 electoral votes. We're still waiting for results from the state of Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia as well, likely to increase his lead even more. But based on what we are seeing now, even though we are not projecting a winner, we can say that Joe Biden is on track to be the next president of the United States of America, the 46th president of the United States. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., a somewhat fancy name for a man who likes to call himself the boy from Scranton. His political career began 50 years ago this week, elected to the county council in Newcastle, Delaware. 2 years later, America's youngest senator, elected at 29. He served 3 decades in the Senate, rose to chairman of the Senate Judiciary, Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And there you see the young man who would later become one of the senior senators in the United States. That seemed like it could have been the end of his career. Yet in 2007, he was tapped by 2008, tapped by Barack Obama to be his running mate and served 2 terms as Vice President of the United States. This is actually his 3rd run for the presidency, 3rd time's the charm for Joe Biden. First ran in 1987. Was forced out after facing charges of plagiarism in 1987. Ran again in 2007, but he was no match in 2007 for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who of course got the nomination, ran as president. This election looked like it was a tough run at first. Joe Biden was the front runner, but then ran into a lot of trouble in Iowa and New Hampshire, 4th and 5th place finishes, before the state of South Carolina saved the candidacy of Joe Biden, backed overwhelmingly by black voters, and the kingmaker in that state, Jim Clyburn. He won the state of South Carolina, immediately moved on to become the nominee as the Democratic Party closed ranks behind him. He is a man who has absorbed much pain and much loss. The death of his wife and daughter just weeks after he was elected to the Senate in 1972. His son, Beau, Attorney General of Delaware, died in the final year of Biden's vice presidency from brain cancer. Biden himself, in 1988, a brain aneurysm that almost killed him. And through all these experiences, he became a man of uncommon empathy, a man of great resilience, a man of simple decency, character traits that he will now bring to the office of the President of the United States. Elected at the age of 77, the oldest man ever elected president, he will occupy the Oval Office starting January. We can imagine that electric smile behind the mask. She's going to savor this moment.
Just because the length of your hair will ring long, and they often criticize you for your skin tone. Wanna hold your head high, 'cause you a pretty woman. Get your runway stride on and keep it going. Girl, live your life. Just
The horns are going off. A big exhale.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. So, thank you. Good evening. So, Congressman John Lewis, before his passing, wrote, "Democracy is not a state, it is an act." And what he meant was that America's democracy is not guaranteed. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. To guard it and never take it for granted. And protecting our democracy takes struggle, it takes sacrifice, but there is joy in it, and there is progress, because we, the people, have the power to build a better future. And when our very democracy was on the ballot in this election, with the very soul of America at stake, and the world watching, you ushered in a new day for America. To our campaign staff and volunteers, this extraordinary team, thank you for bringing more people than ever before into the democratic process. And for making this victory possible, to the poll workers and election officials across our country who have worked tirelessly to make sure every vote is counted, our nation owes you a debt of gratitude. You have protected the integrity of our democracy. And to the American people who make up our beautiful country, thank you for turning out in record numbers to make your voices heard. And I know times have been challenging, especially the last several months. The grief, sorrow, and pain, the worries and the struggles. But we have also witnessed your courage, your resilience, and the generosity of your spirit. For 4 years, you marched and organized for equality and justice, for our lives and for our planet. And then you voted. And you delivered a clear message. You chose hope and unity, decency, science, and yes, truth. You chose Joe Biden as the next president of the United States of America. And Joe is a healer, a uniter, a tested and steady hand, a person whose own experience of loss gives him a sense of purpose that will help us as a nation reclaim our own sense of purpose. And a man with a big heart who loves with abandon. It's his love for Jill, who will be an incredible First Lady. It's his love for Hunter and Ashley and his grandchildren and the entire Biden family. And while I first knew Joe as vice president, I really got to know him as the father who loved Bo, my dear friend who we remember here today. And to my husband, Doug, children Cole and Ella and my sister Maya and our whole family. I love you all more than I can ever express. We are so grateful to Joe and Jill for welcoming our family into theirs on this incredible journey. And to the woman most responsible for my presence here today, my mother, Shamala Gopalan Harris, who is always in our hearts. When she came here from India at the age of 19, she maybe didn't quite imagine this moment, but she believed so deeply in an America where a moment like this is possible. And so I am thinking about her and about the generations of women, Black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment tonight. Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality and liberty and justice for all, including the Black women who are often, too often, overlooked, but so often prove they are the backbone of our democracy. All the women who have worked to secure and protect the right to vote for over a century, 100 years ago with the 19th Amendment, 55 years ago with the Voting Rights Act, and now in 2020 with a new generation of women in our country who cast their ballots and continued the fight for their fundamental right to vote and be heard. Tonight I reflect on their struggle, their determination, and the strength of their vision to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And I stand on their shoulders. And what a testament it is to Joe's character that he had the audacity to break one of the most substantial barriers that exists in our country and select a woman as his vice president. But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. But know that we will applaud you every step of the way. And to the American people, no matter who you voted for, I will strive to be a vice president like Joe was to President Obama, loyal, honest, and prepared, waking up every day thinking of you and your family. Because now is when the real work begins, the hard work, the necessary work, the good work, the essential work to save lives and beat this epidemic, to rebuild our economy so it works for working people, to root out systemic racism in our justice system and society, to combat the climate crisis, to unite our country and heal the soul of our nation. And the road ahead will not be easy, but America is ready. And so are Joe and I. We have elected a president who represents the best in us, a leader the world will respect and our children will look up to, a commander-in-chief who will respect our troops and keep our country safe, and a president for all Americans. And it is now my great honor to introduce the President-elect of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
And there he is, bounding onto the stage. Just a few weeks short of 78 years old, determined not to show it right now, feeling this moment. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., who will be the 46th President of the United States. Fist bump for these times. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris first brought together by Joe Biden's late son, Beau, who was Attorney General of Delaware. Kamala Harris served as Attorney General of California. They worked together. Had a warm relationship, tested during the campaign, and she went on the attack during the first debate, but they overcame that. And tonight, she celebrates being the first woman Vice President-elect of the United States.
Hello, my fellow Americans, and the people who brought me to the dance, Delawareans. I see my buddy Senator Tom Carper down there, and I think Senator Coons is there, and I think the governor's around. Is that Ruth Ann? And that former Governor Ruth Ann Minner. And most importantly, my sisters-in-law, my sister Valerie. Anyway. Folks, the people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation. 74 million. What I must admit has surprised me. Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow, bring a better day. And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you've placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States. And work with all my heart, with the confidence of the whole people, to win the confidence of all of you. And for that is what America, I believe, is about. It's about people. And that's what our administration will be all about. I sought this office to restore the soul of America, to rebuild the backbone of this nation, the middle class, and to make America respected around the world again, and to unite us here at home. It's the honor of my lifetime that so many millions of Americans have voted for that vision. And now, the work of making that vision is real. It's a task, the task of our time. Folks, as I said many times before, I'm Jill's husband. And I would not be here without her love and tireless support of Jill and my son Hunter and Ashley, my daughter, and all our grandchildren and their spouses and all our family. They're my heart. Jill's a mom, a military mom, an educator. And she has dedicated her life to education. But teaching isn't just what she does, it's who she is. For American educators, this is a great day for y'all. You're going to have one of your own in the White House. And Jill's going to make a great First Lady. I'm so proud of her. And I'll have the honor of serving with the fantastic Vice President who you just heard from, Kamala Harris, who makes history as the first woman, first black woman, the first woman from South Asian descent, the first daughter of an immigrant ever elected in this country. Don't tell me it's not possible in the United States. It's long overdue. And we're reminded tonight of those who fought so hard for so many years to make this happen. But once again, America's bent the arc of the moral universe more toward justice. Kamala, Doug, like it or not, your family, you become an honorary Biden. There's no way out. To all those of you who volunteered and worked the polls in the middle of this pandemic, local elected officials, you deserve a special thanks from the entire nation. And to my campaign team and all the volunteers and all who gave so much of themselves to make this moment possible, I owe you. I owe you. I owe you everything. And to all those who supported us, I'm proud of the campaign we built and ran. I'm proud of the coalition we put together, the broadest and most diverse coalition in history,
Democrats, Republicans, Independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments, and especially those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb. The African American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours. I said at the outset, I wanted to represent this campaign to represent and look like America. We've done that. Now that's what I want the administration to look like and act like. For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies. They are Americans. They are Americans. The Bible tells us to everything there is a season, a time to build, a time to reap, and a time to sow, and a time to heal. This is the time to heal in America. Now this campaign is over. What is the will of the people? What is our mandate? I believe it's this. Americans have called upon us to marshal the forces of decency, the forces of fairness, to marshal the forces of science and the forces of hope in the great battles of our time. The battle to control the virus, the battle to build prosperity, the battle to secure your family's health care, the battle to achieve racial justice and root out systemic racism in this country, and the battle to save our planet by getting climate under control, the battle to restore decency, defend democracy, and give everybody in this country a fair shot. That's all they're asking for, a fair shot. Folks, our work begins with getting COVID under control. We cannot repair the economy, restore our vitality, or relish life's most precious moments, hugging our grandchildren, our children, our birthdays, weddings, graduations, all the moments that matter most to us until we get it under control. On Monday, I will name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors to help take the Biden-Harris COVID plan and convert it into an action blueprint that will start on January the 20th, 2021. That plan will be built on bedrock science. It will be constructed out of compassion, empathy, and concern. I will spare no effort, none, or any commitment to turn around this pandemic. Folks, I'm a proud Democrat, but I will govern as an American president. I'll work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as those who did. Let this grim era of demonization in America begin to end here and now. The refusal of Democrats and Republicans to cooperate with one another, it's not some mysterious force beyond our control. It's a decision, a choice we make. And if we can decide not to cooperate, then we can decide to cooperate. And I believe that this is part of the mandate given to us from the American people. They want us to cooperate in their interest. And that's the choice I'll make. And I'll call on Congress, Democrats and Republicans alike, to make that choice with me. The American story is about slow yet steadily widening the opportunities in America. And make no mistake, too many dreams have been deferred for too long. We must make the promise of the country real for everybody, no matter their race, their ethnicity, their faith, their identity, or their disability. Folks, America has always been shaped by inflection points, by moments in time where we've made hard decisions about who we are and what we want to be. Lincoln in 1860, coming to save the Union. FDR in 1932, promising a beleaguered country a new deal. JFK in 1960, pledging a new frontier. And 12 years ago, when Barack Obama made history, he told us, yes, we can. Well, folks, we stand at an inflection point. We have an opportunity to defeat despair, to build a nation of prosperity and purpose. We can do it. I know we can. I've long talked about the battle for the soul of America. We must restore the soul of America. Our nation is shaped by the constant battle between our better angels and our darkest impulses. And what presidents say in this battle matters. It's time for our better angels to prevail. Tonight, the whole world is watching America. And I believe at our best, America is a beacon for the globe. We will lead not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. I've always believed, many of you heard me say it, I've always believed we can define America in one word: possibilities. That in America, everyone should be given an opportunity to go as far as their dreams and God-given ability will take them. You see, I believe in the possibilities of this country. We're always looking ahead to an America that's freer and more just, ahead to an America that creates jobs with dignity and respect, ahead of America that cures diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's, ahead to an America that never leaves anyone behind, ahead of America that never gives up, never gives in. This is a great nation. It's always been a bad bet to bet against America. We're a good people. This is the United States of America, and there's never been anything we've been not able to do when we've done it together. Folks, in the last days of the campaign, I began thinking about a hymn that means a lot to me and my family, particularly my deceased son, Bo. It captures the faith that sustains me and which I believe sustains America. And I hope it can provide some comfort and solace the 230,000 Americans who've lost a loved one to this terrible virus this year. My heart goes out to each and every one of you. Hopefully this hymn gives you solace as well. And it goes like this: and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, and make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. And now together, on eagle's wings, we embark on the work that God and history have called upon us to do. With full hearts and steady hands, with faith in America and in each other, with love of country, a thirst for justice, let us be the nation that we know we can be. A nation united, a nation strengthened, a nation healed. The United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, there's never been anything we've tried we've not been able to do. So remember, as our grandpapa used to say when I walked out of his home when I was a kid up in Scranton, he said, "Joey, keep the faith." And our grandmother, when she was alive, she yelled, "No, Joey, spread it. Spread the faith. God love you all. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops." Thank you, thank you, thank you.
President-elect Joe Biden. Talk about a man fortified by victory, the most forceful he's been throughout this campaign after receiving the most votes ever of any American presidential candidate ever at the age of 77. Boiled down his message to 3 words, he did it: time to heal. That was his message to a nation in the grip of a pandemic. Joe Biden, Dr. Joe Biden, now joining him out on the stage. That was his message to the millions of Americans out of work. That was his message in a time of racial tension, at a time when raw politics is seeping into too many corners of our lives. He says it's time to heal. He promised first and foremost to be a president who will not divide but will unify. Talking now of higher love. He still saw some of the old school politician in him. He couldn't help himself. He walked out onto the stage and called out the 2 senators from Delaware. That's a man who's been running for office since the age of 27, as the rest of his family comes out to celebrate as well. His son Hunter, the target of so many, gets a hug from his dad. Joe Biden never wavered in that love, no matter what was thrown at his son. Kamala Harris's family is out there as well. Mary Bruce, you were out there the whole campaign. We saw a man energized tonight.
It was a Joe Biden like I really have never seen during this campaign. And George, when you take a step back, this has been such a hard-fought year and a half. A campaign completely upended by a pandemic. It is likely going to be a very hard-fought transition and a long road ahead. But tonight was a moment for so many here, that sense of a collective exhale and a moment really to relish in the possibility. That's what seemed reflected so much in the remarks here tonight. That sense of hope that the country can maybe come together, that the country can heal going forward, and that they can perhaps accomplish all of these big things that they are setting out to do. Look, they know that this is going to be very difficult, but tonight is a moment to pause, to take it all in as you see them doing now on the stage, and to think about the possibility and the opportunity ahead.
David Muir said the first job getting this pandemic under control.
Yes, he's been very consistent on that. He said this is a time to heal America, as you pointed out, George. He said marshal the forces of decency, of hope, and we must control the virus. That was first on his list that he presented to the American people tonight. And what an extraordinary moment tonight for Joe Biden, George. He turned 78 years old in just a couple of weeks. This is a man who has dreamed of this moment for more than 30 years. He ran for president 3 times, but perhaps this is the time for the man to meet the moment. He knows what he's walking into. He said, for those of you who voted for Donald Trump, let's give each other a chance. Let's lower the temperature. Let's see each other, listen to each other. And he said, let's end this era of demonization in America. It ends now. And he will call on Democrats and Republicans to cooperate. And George, this was something he told both of us in this campaign leading up to this moment. That's what he intends to do.
Lindsey Davis, Kamala Harris, resplendent in the white of the suffragette movement, celebrated so many firsts. Daughter of an immigrant, first woman, first black vice president.
And when you talk about the first, there are actually T-shirts that the Biden campaign sold prior to this that said first but not last. That was something that she shared tonight, saying while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. She has said in the past that her mother raising what she called 2 black daughters, even though her mother was from India, that she had told them, you may be the first to do many things, but make sure you're not the last. Quite often in politics, it can be perceived as the more things change, the more they stay the same. But for at least tonight, it felt that there was a spirit of inspiration, diversity, certainly as we look at the group that's assembled on the stage there, representation. And again, Kamala, as you said, in her suffragette white, but with her brown skin, which again, I can't emphasize enough, is so important for young girls, particularly of color, to be able to see someone who looks like them in a role that they may aspire for. Both the president-elect and vice president-elect talked about opportunity. Both talked about black voters coming through and standing up for them, and both talked about healing.
And the word possibilities from both of them as well. John Carl, Joe Biden is a man shaped by loss and recovery from loss. That's where his empathy is rooted in, and it was that loss that he cited when he reached out to the Trump supporters.
He sure did, George, and there is a line in this speech that I think will reverberate. He said, to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as enemies. They are not enemies, they are Americans. That is a dramatic change in tone from where we have been.
First day possibly of a new era. You see it right there, Biden. Fireworks above Wilmington, Delaware. We just heard his first speech as president-elect, the first speech from the vice president-elect, Kamala Harris. That is all for us tonight. We're going to have much more in the days ahead. We hope you have a good night as well.